Hola todos! In today's video, we are going to show you 5 different ways to speak about the past in Spanish. Even if you're a total beginner, by the end of this video, you'll be able to confidently start using past tense in Spanish. Let's get started! Past tense is used to communicate anything that happened, in the past. In Spanish, there are 5 different past tenses. We have the simple past, imperfect past, past progressive, present perfect, and past perfect. If that sounds like a lot, don't worry. We're going to tell you exactly what these tenses are and exactly how to use them. Also, all but one of these tenses have an English language equivalent. So, it'll all make much more sense in just a minute. If your goal is conversational Spanish, make sure to check out baselang.com, where you can get access to unlimited one-on-one Spanish classes with native speaking teachers via Zoom. Quick side note, before we get started, Spanish tenses often have more than one official name. In this video, we'll mention each tense by its formal and less formal name. Now, let's dive in and show you the 5 ways to speak about the past in Spanish. The first tense to know is simple past. In Spanish, it's called pretérite or pasado simple. The simple past tense is used to talk about any past actions that were already completed with clear beginnings and endings. A couple examples of this would be, hice el examen el verano pasado. I did the exam last summer. As you can see, there's a clear beginning and ending. The exam both started and ended last summer. Another example is, yo visité a mis abuelos, which means I visited my grandparents. What makes these phrases simple past is that they are actions that took place on a specific day or at a specific time. Simple past is not used to talk about actions that are more habitual. Remember, it's only used in situations that have clear set beginnings and endings. If you're talking about anything that was done regularly over a period of time, then you would use imperfect past tense. In Spanish, it's called imperfecto or pretérite imperfecto. This one tends to be a little confusing for people because it's the only past tense in Spanish that doesn't actually have an English equivalent. In general, it's used to speak about past actions that were habitual or happened over a period of time, to speak about past actions that were interrupted, to describe past characteristics, to describe past conditions, to describe past feelings. You can think of it this way. Past imperfect is used when you're setting the stage and telling a story about how things used to be in a more general way. You use this tense when it's unclear whether the action was completed or not. With simple past tense, you're speaking about a specific point in time. But with imperfect past tense, you're referring to a habitual action without indicating a start or end date. For example, in simple past, you'd say, cuando yo visité a mis abuelos, when I visited my grandparents. It's clear that in that sentence, you're talking about a specific time you visited your grandparents. But in imperfect past, you would say, yo visitaba a mis abuelos. I used to visit my grandparents. See the difference? In the simple past, you're talking about a specific time. In imperfect past, it's more of a general statement without a clear beginning or an ending. A couple more examples of the imperfect past in action are, yo corría todos los fines de semana, which means I used to run every weekend. Or, Raquel bailaba samba en una academia, which means Raquel used to dance samba in an academy. So again, these actions don't have a clear beginning or end point, but we know that they were habitual. Imperfect past is also used when talking about past dates, times, ages, conditions, and feelings. Some examples are, cuando tenías 10 años, nos mudamos a Brasil. When you were 10 years old, we moved to Brazil. Or, era septiembre cuando fuimos a Italia. It was September when we went to Italy. And finally, imperfect past is often used to speak about a past action that was in progress and was interrupted by something else. For example, dormía cuando el teléfono sonó. I was sleeping when the phone rang. In that last example, the imperfect past translates into I was sleeping instead of I used to sleep. So, the sleeping was an ongoing action. And in Spanish, there's another tense that can also be used to talk about a past action that was ongoing. Typically, native speakers use imperfect past to talk about an ongoing action that happened a while ago. When talking about a more recent time frame, we tend to use past progressive. Pasado progresivo. The past progressive tense is a simple way to speak about a continuous action that took place in the past, normally within a more recent time frame. For example, yo estaba durmiendo cuando el teléfono sonó, which is how you would say I was sleeping when the phone rang in past progressive. An easy way to remember this tense is to think of it as the ing tense. For example, I was working, she was eating. Past progressive is used in the same way as its English equivalent. And if you already know how to use present progressive, then this tense will be really simple for you. For example, in present progressive, you'd say, estoy trabajando, or I'm working. So we have the subject plus the estar verb in present tense, and then the progressive verb. The past progressive formula is almost identical. You just conjugate estar into the imperfect past tense. So you would say, estaba trabajando, or I was working. If you need a refresher on present tense or want to learn more, check out our present tense video. Now, something we already touched on is knowing when to use past progressive versus the imperfect past tense. And the truth is, in many cases, the two are interchangeable. The general rule of thumb is the past progressive tends to be used when the action is more recent, and imperfect past tense is used when giving descriptions or telling stories. As you continue your Spanish learning journey, it'll start to feel like second nature, I promise. Now, let's take a look at a couple more examples of past progressive. Estaba trabajando en la oficina. I was working at the office. Estabas comiendo un helado. You were eating an ice cream. Estaban haciendo la tarea. They were doing homework. You can also use this tense to talk about interrupted past actions. For example, estaba viendo televisión, pero me quedé dormido. I was watching TV, but I fell asleep. Or, estaba lavando los platos cuando llegaste, which means I was doing the dishes when you arrived. And there you have it. Past progressive. You've already learned 3 forms of past tense in Spanish. Since you're the type of person who takes learning Spanish seriously, make sure you're subscribed to our channel for more great lessons like this. Now, on to our 4th tense, which is present perfect. In Spanish, this tense can be referred to as pretérito perfecto compuesto, or presente perfecto. This is another tense that's used in the exact same way as its English equivalent. Present perfect is used to talk about past actions that are still connected to the present, or probably still happening. For example, he ido a España muchas veces, which means I have gone to Spain many times. Or, ellos han hecho todas sus tareas, which means they have done all their homework. To use this tense, all you need to do is remember this simple formula. You use the auxiliary verb haber in simple present, and then the past participle of the action verb. Here, let's break that down. I'll use the example, he visitado a mis primos, which means I have visited my cousins. In this sentence, he is the auxiliary verb haber in simple present, and visitado is the past participle of the action verb. So there you have it, present perfect. And finally, last but not least, we have past perfect. In Spanish, this tense is called pluscuamperfecto del indicativo. And although they might sound intimidating, it's actually pretty simple to understand. The past perfect tense in Spanish is used to talk about an action that took place before something else happened in the past. Some examples are, yo había dormido un poco antes de ir a correr, which means I had slept a bit before running. Or, habían hecho un buen trabajo antes de irse, which translates to they had done a good job before they left. Similarly to present perfect, there's a simple formula to follow when using past perfect. It's basically the same formula as before, but this time the verb haber will be conjugated into the imperfect tense. So again, an example of this in action would be Yo había escrito algunos artículos para la revista, which means I had written some articles for the magazine. So in this case, había is haber, conjugated into the past imperfect tense. And escrito is the past participle of the action verb. And there you have it, everything you need to know about past tense in Español. And remember, the key to mastering Spanish is practice. For a written recap of the 5 past tenses and some practice exercises, check out our full article. You'll find the link in the description below. If you want to master past tense Spanish or any other lessons, head over to baselang.com and schedule your first class with a live Spanish teacher today. With Baselang, you can take unlimited one-on-one Spanish classes with native speaking teachers via Zoom. Try your first week for only $1. Now that you know past tense, check out our video on future tense in Spanish right here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next lesson.